And first up tonight, thanks for looking in. And first up tonight, I had an issue recently with my Discord page. For some reason, it's my own fault. I take the blame. I changed a couple of the settings and permissions and accidentally left one, which didn't allow anybody to see the page. So my older son finally let me know that he could no longer see what was on the page. So I went back and changed everything so that if by chance you come to my Discord page, which the link is up, and I'll go ahead and go into general chat here. But the link is up. So first, I need to start the music. All right, a little background music while I'm talking here. Let me know if you're watching, let me know if you think that's too loud. All right, up first on the podcast, the first issue, Alice Asylum. Alice Asylum is canceled when American James McGee leaves game development. For those of you who are familiar, I'll come back to this in a moment, but if you're familiar with this game, this is footage. Turn that music off. This is gameplay footage from Alice Madness Returns. And Alice Madness Returns, in my opinion, was one of the greatest games, one of the absolute best first-person shooter games ever made, and first-person perspective game, right? So for the last 10 years, American McGee, who was the creator of both Alice and Alice Madness Returns, was attempting to get a third game published, the final game of the trilogy, entitled Alice Asylum. Alice Asylum was due to pick up where Alice Madness Returns left off. And when she was, because if you never played Alice Madness Returns, toward the end of the game, she actually commits an act of retribution, which could also have been called murder. And because she was still a minor, she wound up in an asylum, and Alice Asylum was meant to be her escape, her escape story from that institution. And she's been even in Alice Madness Returns, she spent a little bit of a time. She was in the asylum toward the end of that and discovered what some of her true problems really were. Anyway, for 10 years, American McGee is trying to get this game done, and I've always been looking forward to it, and I supported it. I supported his effort, the Patreon, all that good stuff, and because I wanted to see the game get made, Alice Asylum, I wanted to see it get made. McGee expressed disappointment as he noted that the team had exhausted every option for getting a new Alice game made. The decision to make a new Alice game rests solely on the shoulders of Electronic Arts. And he said, I have no control over the Alice IP and no ability to make a new game happen. That control and ability rest entirely with Electronic Arts. Well, gee. Where have we heard about trouble with Electronic Arts before? Now this was something that this was their game design Bible for Alice Asylum, and it was going to be a good game. It couldn't not be a good game, I suppose, with all that was going into it. But one more thing here. The decade-long effort to make Alice Asylum has reached an end. The IP holder, Electronic Arts, has refused to fund the development or consider licensing options. And I've been trying to find, a spokesperson somewhere for Electronic Arts to justify the decision as to why they don't want to do it. But I suppose the basic answer is they don't want to put out another game that's, when it comes to the sales, it's just sort of one and done. You buy a copy of the game, and they can't keep going after you like in an MMO game. They can't keep coming after you again and again and again and again and again for money. And so that's why they're not going to do it. Okay, McGee spearheaded both of the previous Alice games, Alice and Alice Madness Returns. He's been trying to get the third game off the ground for years, opening up a Patreon to help support the creation of a production and design plan, which was the Bible that I showed a moment ago. but that depends entirely on Electronic Arts whether or not a third Alice game is greenlit. Now, with EA's decision, McGee said the team has exhausted every option to realize a third Alice game and that there's no other way forward with the project. Well, it's just a shame. It's a shame because these two games, Alice and Alice Madness Returns, were truly brilliant games. And one of the draws, I'll talk about this for a minute while the video runs. One of the draws with Alice, and Alice Madness Returns in particular, was that it was a game that you had to pay attention to. It was a game that you had to follow. It was a game that it was, if you didn't think about what you were doing, if you didn't pay attention to the narrative, then it became more difficult to play and to keep up with. And that was one of the beauties of it, is that it had a narrative. It had an actual narrative. It had an actual background story. It was nuanced. It was multi-layered. It wasn't your, it wasn't your basic, Doom-type first-person shooter, where you just pick up, where your only goal is to pick up more guns and go kill more things. Here you had to navigate the boundaries of the mind. That's basically what she's doing in the game. She isn't navigating an actual world that's been created somewhere other than within her mind. And everything that she encounters, everything that happens, is a product of that. It's a product of the borderline insanity that she's facing as she progresses through all of these events. And the game had a level of nuance and detail in it that I've just never found in any other genre game like this. And it was just beautifully done. The whole thing was just beautifully done. And it's one of those games that every now and then I go back to just for the experience, because it was, again, such an incredibly crafted and intelligent game, which is not par for the course. Most games of this genre are not very intelligently designed or crafted at all. And most of them are just sort of one and done. You play it for a little while and you either finish the game and move on, or you get bored. Well, you won't get bored playing this game. It is just incredibly well produced. And with Alice Asylum, American McGee was going to raise the level of that, raise the standards even more. But he couldn't get he couldn't get Electronic Arts to come on board and to release the IP to him, or release the IP to someone else who wanted to make the game. And so finally, Electronic Arts just put its foot down and say, we're never going to fund this. And so unfortunately, Alice Asylum as a game is unfortunately dead, as it says here. Alice Asylum, the decade-long effort to make the game, has reached an end. All right. Up next, speaking of games, Tomb Raider. This article goes back to June 1st of 2022, and there is a new Tomb Raider game in production. Shadows of the Tomb Raider was the last game to be released, and that one came out on multiple platforms. I have it for my Xbox One, but there is another one that's in production. Okay, so this article came out in June of 2022. Lara Croft, the adventurer, is returning, and the gaming community is thrilled. Crystal Dynamics recently announced that the new Tomb Raider game is in the works. Tomb Raider, man, that's an idea, right? That's an idea. Let's just do that. Tomb Raider game is in the works, but no concrete details have been revealed, leaving fans with lots of skepticism. However, the new game is said to be built with the existing Unreal Engine 5, which is actually a good engine. That's the same one. I think that's what they use for Shadows of the Tomb Raider, if I remember correctly. But anyway, so this came out on June 1st of 2022, announcing that a new Tomb Raider game was in the works. And now This was published on December 15th. Was that 6 months ago? Not even that, but anyway, the next Tomb Raider game will be published by Amazon. Oh no. Amazon, the same people that gave us Rings of Power, is now going to take over Tomb Raider. Amazon and Crystal Dynamics strike deal for Lara Croft's next adventure. As previously announced, the next Tomb Raider is being developed using Epic Games' Unreal Engine 5. And the new release, Amazon and Crystal Dynamics called the next game in the franchise the biggest, most expansive Tomb Raider game to date. It is also noted to be in early development. A release window and platforms for the new Tomb Raider were not announced. Okay. Here is... Alright, I'm going to run this for a little while as background while I talk about this. I've been a Tomb Raider fan since the first PS1 game. And in fact, I still have all the PS1 games that came out with Tomb Raider. And I still have a working PS2, at which I can play those games. And if I ever choose to, and every now and then, I like to boot up the original Tomb Raider and just run around because it was a very fun game. The Tomb Raider franchise, for the most part, not always, but for the most part, the Tomb Raider franchise has been a very consistently good, consistently well-crafted, and consistently entertaining series of games. And they can hold your attention, and of course, as the years have gone by and the graphic design has become more sophisticated, Lara Croft, of course, has become more and more appealing to the eyes of those who play the character. And I suppose there's a metaphor there embedded in that statement, play the character. However, a new Tomb Raider game is something that fans can always look forward to and always tend to look forward to and want to get into and play. And there's the inevitable, anytime a new Tomb Raider game comes out, there's the inevitable, the release date, and then somebody tries to beat the whole game in the first 24 hours and be the first one to get a video up showing how it ends and blah blah blah. Okay, I try not to pay attention to those type of gamers, online gamers, or YouTubers, or whatever format we're talking about, because to my way of thinking, my approach to a game like Lara Croft, any Tomb Raider game that's come out, is that it's something to be appreciated. It is something to be indulged in. It is something to be, I said appreciated. I'm sorry, but something to just take your time with and have fun with it and get immersed. That's the word I was looking for. To get immersed in the game and just sort of try to get everything out of it that was put into it. Because Lara Croft is and always has been such an appealing character. And so two things potentially, let me rephrase it. Let me back up and rephrase that. One aspect of the whole Tomb Raider franchise that has always bothered me is what I mentioned a while ago, the fact that a new game will come out and there are instantly people who want to try to spoil the fun for everybody else. They want to finish it as soon as possible. Like with it, they go on this 24-hour player binge and beat the game, and then put up a big video saying, I beat the game. Look at me. Screw those guys. I like I said, I don't pay any attention. I try not to pay any attention to them at all. But the second thing is that Amazon is doing this. And given what happened with the Rings of Power, when I see the name Amazon attached to a franchise such as Lara Croft Tomb Raider, I can't help but be a little bit concerned. Okay, are they going to make a Tomb Raider game in the same context, in the same vein as has been made over the years? All the years since the 90s when the character was first introduced. Are they going to make a Tomb Raider game? Are they going to make a social justice warrior game? Are they going to make a game where Lara Croft is suddenly, a 250-pound purple-haired beluga whale, and she's going to wail at you and talk to you about, all you white cisgendered men out there playing this game are pigs, and is that is that what they're going to do with the character? Are they going to turn Lara Croft into another Galadriel? Okay, now that's the more succinct way to put it. I was venting there for a second, but that's the more succinct way to put it. Is that is Amazon going to take the Lara Croft character and turn her into another Galadriel? And not in the sense that Lara Croft, can accomplish amazing feats in the game, because that was always part of the game. Lara Croft was always capable of achieving amazing feats of physical ability, physical endurance, combat capability. All of that was built into the character from the very beginning. What I'm talking about is adding another layer of personality into the character, which manifests itself in a manner such as Galadriel did in the Rings of Power. In that, she's superior because she's a woman. She's better than all the little men, and all the little men have to bow down in front of her because she's an angry woman, and she's going around everywhere with a big chip on her shoulder, and has to make the message, the approved message, the center of the game, as opposed to just making a game, right? Okay, so that's my concern, knowing that Amazon is now involved in the production of the next Tomb Raider game. So we'll have to wait and see. If Amazon is just going to act as more of the funding vehicle as opposed to part of the creative aspect of the game, and we'll just have to wait and see how it turns out. But I do have that concern simply because Amazon has gotten involved. All right, up next, Super Mario Brothers has crossed $1 billion at the box office. Can you believe it, sports fans? Super Mario Brothers has crossed $1 billion. One context of this is that Super Mario Brothers, by all accounts, and I admit up front, I have yet to see this movie. I haven't seen this movie. I was never a Mario Brothers fan. I never played the games. They just didn't appeal to me. For whatever reason, they just didn't appeal to me. So I never played the games. So I haven't seen this movie. But by all accounts that are out there on the internet, this movie was faithful to the source material. It was faithful to the source material, and it did not invest any time into lecturing its audience on, again, the message, right? It did not spend any time lecturing its audience and belittling its audience and berating its audience and telling its audience what they should think and how they should feel and what they should care about. It was just a movie based on the game. All right, where have we seen that before? With the movies I've made, that the recent box office films that have made a lot of money and crossed the $1 billion mark. Okay, Spider-Man Homecoming, or No Way Home, I guess it was, and the one that had all three Spider-Man in it, that was No Way Home. Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick was made off the same formula. It didn't invest any of its time into preaching at the audience and telling the audience how worthless they were. because they didn't believe a particular thing or didn't espouse a particular ideology, and to a lesser degree, Avatar 2. Now, I did do a movie review of Avatar 2. I never published it as a separate review, I don't think. I don't think I did. No, I didn't, actually. But anyway, I did a movie review of Avatar 2. And Avatar 2 had some of that in it. It had aspects of promoting a message in it. And basically, I called it Avatar 2 Save the Whales, right? And that was the hidden agenda of the film. And the first one was capitalism sucks. The original Avatar was capitalism sucks. They're all going after unobtainium. Holy shit! I mean, how obvious could somebody be? But anyway, but the second one was Save the Whales. But it was still a good movie. You could watch it and just sort of skip over all that. And then you have Super Mario Brothers, which again was just a faithful adaptation of the game material and didn't try to beat its audience up. So movie-going audiences are telling Hollywood what they want. We want more movies like Spider-Man No Way Home. We want more movies like Top Gun Maverick. We want more stuff like Super Mario Brothers, or Avatar 2, and stop with all this other crap like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania that is put out there to try to tell us how all worthless and weak we are. All right. So there you go. Super Mario Brothers crosses $1 billion at the global box office. We're good for it. Okay, so now moving on. Guardians of the Galaxy 3. In my last podcast, I talked about Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And this is a scene that has been released. This is a clip from the movie that has been released by Marvel Disney to just sort of promote the movie. They're on the furry planet, which is all actually in the film. It's alternate Earth, New Earth, and based on Earth in the 1980s. And all the creatures that are running around are the high evolutionaries creations, right? But he created them to live in this sort of idyllic 1980s Earth type environment. And so, Peter Quill here is the only one who knows how everything works. And Nebula can't even open up a car door, okay, without having to go through all sorts of gyrations. And so I wanted to show that real quick, because if you recall my last podcast, the topic when it came to Guardians 3 was that it might not be, it might lose money. It might turn out to be another box office bomb. Okay, here's another scene that was released by Marvel Disney and is up on YouTube. That's Adam Warlock trying to fight Rocket, and Nebula shows up, and you can see Adam Warlock is looks like he wasn't actually shown at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but he does appear as he did in the comics. And Adam Warlock was very powerful in the comics, and why Nebula would think she could take him out with one blast of her little ray there. But anyway, she starts getting the crap beat out of her. But I watched these two scenes. As they were released by Marvel Disney. And again, these are on YouTube. I'm just not running the sound. But I watched these and I thought, okay, these give me hope. Again, the topic of my last podcast was that Guardians 3 might turn into another dud, another flop, another virtue signaling affair out of Marvel Disney. But as I watch these, and as you can watch them on YouTube if you wish, these give me hope. These give me hope that the movie might actually go against the projections and the current expectations and actually be a good Marvel film. And I hope so. I really do. When it comes to my prediction, are articulating my thought that Guardians 3 might be another flop for Marvel, I would be happy to say that I was wrong. All right. Now, what I want to do next is just briefly discuss some upcoming films that are soon to be released. And the first one is The Equalizer 3.
Penso che un sogno così non ritorni mai più. E incominciavo a volare nel cielo infinito.
9 seconds. That's what I'll give you to decide your fate.
Alright, Denzel Washington was in The Equalizer and The Equalizer 2, both of which were good movies. The first one was better than the second one, I do believe. But this is the third one in the series, and will be the end of the trilogy, of course. And he plays the same character, and he's I think this is Bolivia where he's gone. And in the trailer, he just says he thinks he's found a place to to settle down and spend the rest of his life in retirement. But once again, he gets caught up in a criminal underworld, and he meets his doppelganger, in the sense that he meets up with a guy that's just as good as he is. Finally meets someone who is just as good at dealing out violence as he is, right? And so it's sort of the Darth Vader showdown. Hey, R1 is here. The best movie I see of Denzel Washington is American Gangster. American Gangster was a good movie, absolutely. However, I am looking forward to this one. I am looking forward to seeing the third Equalizer movie, because the first, like I said, I thought the first one was the better of the two. The second one was still a good movie. And this being the final film in the trilogy, I am looking forward to seeing it, because it is just it's a good character that was crafted for Denzel Washington to play, and he's very believable in it, which is something that any good movie needs, right? Any good movie needs a believable character, regardless of the setting that they're in. All right, up next, this is The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games, the next Hunger Games movie, and holy shit, here we go. We back that up a little bit. Who's the big villain in this Hunger Games version? Yes, it's Tyrion Lannister himself. I swear, man. Tyrion Lannister is the big bad in this version of the Hunger Games. Now, what they've done is gone back to the beginning, apparently. They're doing a prequel, all right? Because prequels always work out so well. People have become invested in... now, did you see that? See, this is what kills me, man, about Hollywood just repackaging all of these films. And, okay. Now, I don't know who the actress there is. I don't know who the actress there is, and I don't really care. But what she's doing with that movement, in the first Hunger Games movie, God, what's her name? I can't remember. Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence did this first. Jennifer Lawrence did that exact body motion, that exact type of bow, with that exact type of look on her face. Jennifer Lawrence did this in the first Hunger Games movies, after she shot the arrow through the pig. And when they're all up there eating and nobody was paying attention to what she was doing. So she shot the apple out of the mouth of the pig that they had up on big plate to get everybody's attention. And she did this. Okay. So they're just repackaging, man. They're just repackaging, putting a different face on it, and doing a prequel that goes back to the very first Hunger Games. And why? And like I said, Tyrion Lannister in it. This guy is supposed to be President Snow. This guy is a young, whatever Snow's first name was, who the hell cares? But it's the young version of the guy who would eventually go on to become President Snow. And all of us know what happened to him because we saw the first Hunger Game movies. And so we know where this is going to end before they even start. And why become invested in a character just because you make him younger and are trying to tell the story of how he came to be such a corrupt bastard? Okay, so here's my response to the next Hunger Game movies. Who gives a shit, man? You know, I mean, so far, I've been kind of positive and upbeat on the stuff I've talked about. But this one just, this is just going to be a cosmic waste of time, but whatever. It's just repackaging, repurposing, and with some new faces, and what? Okay, up next, another movie that I guess I can say that, okay, fine, go ahead and put this movie out, get it over with, and then we can all move on. This is Fast 10, the 10th movie in the Fast and Furious franchise. And there are going to be more explosions and more car chases and more things getting blown up. Watch this. There's Aquaman, and he's enjoying all of his devastation, because James Bond villain comes to the Fast and Furious franchise, right? James Bond villain. This is Dr. No, or Blofeld. There we go. This is Blofeld in another version. And we're going to get to see Vin Diesel talk about family. Everything that's important is family. That's the only thing that's important is family. That's going to be the movie. And Aquaman here is going to come in and he's going to say something like, I'm going to destroy your family. And that's going to be the movie. Okay? With a lot of action sets in it and car chases and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, Fast 10, and the franchise will finally be over and we can move on. Okay, speaking of movies that we don't need, look at this. Yep, this is what I've been waiting for all these years, is another Godzilla vs. Kong movie, The New Empire. Okay, so at least it's not a prequel, huh? But they're going to move on to the children. The children now are going to get up and fight. And let me just run that again for a moment. If you weren't tortured enough. If you weren't tortured enough the first time, I mean, seriously, this is the movie that I was hoping that Hollywood would crank out. Another Godzilla v. Kong movie. So, the two guys, the Godzilla and Kong can go around and smash all the cities and beat up on the U.S. military. And F-35 pilots can fly right up to Godzilla's tail so that he can whack them out of the sky. And King Kong can, they'll fly right up. They'll take helicopters and fly right up to King Kong's nose because, that's what helicopter pilots would do. And so I can't wait for the next Godzilla Kong movie. Nor can I wait for this one. This is Transformers. And Transformers is going back in time, I guess. I don't know if time travel. Well, yeah, it's time travel because there's the World Trade Centers. That's, there's nothing gauche about that, I guess. But anyway. So now it's another Transformers movie, and 1994, and of course we haven't seen this before, right? A guy driving a car that turns out to be a Transformer. That wasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but that wasn't in any of the other Transformer movies, right? They've never done that before, with the guy driving a car that turns out to be a Transformer. So, I'm glad that they're thinking here and getting some new material into the film. Really, what else is there to say about this? I suppose Bumblebee. The Bumblebee movie itself, the Bumblebee movie itself, made so much money and was so successful that he's back. He's back, ladies and gentlemen, in this film, and was someone brand new to carry around. So the next Transformers movie. Wait a minute. Let me back that up a little bit. I want to stop on a frame here. Okay, this guy right here, this Transformer right here. I don't know. I suppose that's a female Transformer. She probably comes out of a Trans Am though, but whatever. Okay, next. And this one I'm going to talk about for a few minutes. This will be the last one. Okay, this will be the last one tonight, for this last movie, I should say, the last film I'm going to talk about. But it is The Flash. Okay, so to do this one, I'm going to pause the music for a moment because I do want to play the sound here. I actually want to go through this trailer. Okay? I want to go through this trailer.
Hi, I'm Kiko. I'm 23. I go to UCSB and I also bartend.
Picha wanchi kohpa, pang nang ni tu chanki.